Let's be honest for a second. When we hear ghost drama, most of us immediately think of something scary, full of jump scares, dark lighting, and moments that make you regret watching alone at night. But what if I told you that some of the most emotional, comforting, and even healing K-dramas are actually about ghosts? And not the terrifying kind, but the kind that makes you cry, reflect, and maybe even appreciate life a little more. Today, we're diving into 5 Korean dramas where ghosts aren't here to scare you. They're here to tell stories. And honestly, by the end of this, I'm really curious if you'll still see ghost dramas the same way again. Phantom Lawyer, 2026. Let's start with one of the most unique concepts on this list, Phantom Lawyer. A legal drama mixed with ghosts and shamanism? That already sounds like a risky combination, but also incredibly intriguing. The story follows Shin Irang, a lawyer who suddenly gains the ability to see ghosts after opening his office in a former shaman's house. And instead of running away or being terrified, he does something unexpected. He becomes their lawyer. Think about that for a second. Ghosts as clients. That alone flips the usual narrative completely. What I really like about this concept is how it humanizes these spirits. They're not just there to haunt people. They're there because they have unresolved issues, injustice, or unfinished stories. And having a lawyer fight for them in the human world? That's powerful. It turns supernatural elements into something deeply emotional and even relatable. Personally, I think this kind of storytelling is what makes K-dramas stand out. But I want to ask you, would you watch a legal drama like this for the fantasy aspect or for the emotional stories behind each ghost? Oh, my ghost clients. Now, if Phantom Lawyer already sounds emotional, Oh My Ghost Clients takes it even further. Here we follow No Moo Jin, a labor attorney who ends up working for ghosts of workers who died in accidents. And this is where things hit differently. These aren't just random spirits, they're victims of real-world issues, unsafe working conditions, negligence, injustice. Suddenly, the ghost element becomes a way to tell stories that feel very real and very grounded. And I think that's what makes this drama so impactful. It's not about fear, it's about empathy. Each ghost has a story that wasn't properly acknowledged when they were alive, and through Moo Jin, they finally get a voice. Personally, I feel like dramas like this are more haunting than horror itself, because they reflect reality. It makes you think about how many stories go unheard in real life. So let me ask you, do you think using fantasy like this actually makes serious issues easier to understand and connect with? Hotel del Luna, 2019. Now we move to one of the most iconic ghost dramas ever, Hotel del Luna. If you've watched K-dramas, there's a high chance you've heard of this one. The story revolves around a mysterious hotel that only ghosts can stay in before moving on to the afterlife. And at the center of it all is Jang Man-wol, a character who is both cold and deeply broken. What makes this drama so memorable is how it balances beauty and sadness. The visuals are stunning, the setting is magical, but every episode carries emotional weight. Each ghost has a story, a regret, or something they couldn't let go of. And slowly, through these stories, we also learn about Man-wol herself. For me, this drama isn't just about ghosts, it's about closure. It asks a very simple but powerful question. What would you do if you couldn't move on? And I'm curious, if you had the chance to stay at a place like this, would you find it comforting or unsettling? Light Shop, 2024. At first glance, Light Shop feels like it's going to be a horror story. The atmosphere, the mystery, the way it builds tension in the early episodes, it really makes you think something terrifying is coming. But then, as the story unfolds, it shifts into something much deeper and more emotional. The shop itself becomes a space where stories of people who died suddenly are revealed. And this is where the drama really shines. It plays with your expectations. You come in expecting fear, but you leave feeling something completely different. Sadness, understanding, even a bit of peace. I personally love when a drama can trick you like this in a good way. It shows confidence in storytelling. And I think this is a great example of how ghost stories don't always need to rely on horror to be impactful. But what do you think? Do you enjoy dramas that subvert your expectations like this? Or do you prefer knowing exactly what you're getting? Head Over Heels, 2025. Finally, we have Head Over Heels, which takes a much lighter and more romantic approach to the ghost theme. It follows a high school girl who secretly works as a shaman and falls in love with a boy who is constantly targeted by spirits and destined for danger. Now, this sounds like a mix of romance, comedy, and supernatural chaos, and honestly, it works because of that balance. It doesn't try to be too heavy or too dark. Instead, it focuses on emotions, relationships, and the idea of fighting fate. And I think this kind of story is very appealing, especially if you're looking for something that's easy to watch, but still meaningful. It also brings up an interesting idea. What would you do if you knew someone you loved was in constant danger? Would you try to change their fate or accept it? Personally, I think this drama is a reminder that even in supernatural stories, the core is always human emotion. When you look at all these dramas together, what stands out to me is how ghosts are no longer just symbols of fear. They've become storytellers, carrying emotions, regrets, and truths that sometimes feel even more real than the living characters. And maybe that's why these dramas are so addictive. They don't just entertain you, they make you feel something deeper. So now I want to hear from you. Which type of ghost story do you prefer? The emotional ones that make you cry, or the classic horror that keeps you up at night?